Michigan voters will choose their next senator this election year. Actor and Detroit native Hill Harper is one of many candidates now in the race.
The Democrat is known for his work on CSI New York, Limitless, and The Good Doctor. He's running against Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin and businessman Nasser Beydoun. Voters will decide in the August 6th primary who will be the Democratic nominee. And Hill Harper joins us live in the studio tonight. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So for the viewers who haven't heard an interview with you before, we got to start with the why. You've had a successful career on some big shows people might know you from. Why turn away from all of that and try to head to Washington?
You know, I've always been about service and about figuring out a way to have impact and legacy, whether it's through my foundations or my books or my acting. And this is an extension of that. People are hurting. So many people. I was just at a house over the weekend where somebody invited me over to say, Hill, you got to deal with this issue when you're in the Senate. It's the unhoused population. There was black mold all over the walls. We removed a door. As soon as the door hit the ground, someone outside picked it up and ran away with it. Point is that there's so many people that don't feel represented. They don't feel that Washington is actually helping them. They think it's actually hurting them, and they want real representation.
Oftentimes we see actors sometimes go into the world of politics, but there can be some concern for voters in terms of whether or not this is someone who can represent them in the political arena because of the background. You mentioned your foundation and that being something that you're proud of. What is your answer to them?
Well, you know, it's quite simple. You know, I'm a unique individual just because, you know, I went to Harvard Law School, graduated at the top of my class there. I went to Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, graduated at the top of my class. President Obama appointed me to the President's Cancer Panel in 2011, where I served actually working with then Vice President Biden's moonshot to cancer, where we made recommendations to the White House on cancer policy and funding cancer research. And so those are my kind of, as you say, whether it's the law side or whether it's the government side being appointed by the president, there's that. But there's also, yeah, I'm an actor who, you know what the beautiful thing about being an actor is that you learn to you learn empathy. You learn to walk in someone else's shoes. And the beautiful thing is combining those skills. I'm also a small business owner. So if I get elected to the Senate, watch this. I'll be the only active union member in the U.S. Senate. I'm a 32-year union member who's elected to the National Board of My Union. I'd be the only one of two parents of a school-age child. My son is actually here. Single parents know what that's like to work and actually bring your child along, and we need that representation. I'd also be one of the only few small business owners. I own a small business here in downtown Detroit, the Roast and Plant Coffee Shop downtown at Campus Martius. So when we talk about it, we want that level of diversity in the U.S. Senate. We just don't want career politicians there. I hear it from people all over the state that they're tired of asking these politicians for solutions that never come. And, you know, my father was a psychiatrist, and he always used to say the definition of insanity was continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We keep electing the same type of politicians over and over again, yet they don't deliver for people. And this is a people-powered campaign.
So you are relatively new to Michigan. You've been here several years. Why should Michiganders trust that you can represent everyone from here in Southeast Michigan up to the UP? And what brought you here?
I've been to all 83 counties. I moved here 8 years ago. I wanted to raise my son here. You know, at the end of the day, there was a great policy that we used to have here that hopefully we're all fighting to get back, and that's a media tax credit. I came here and I did a number of projects. And also my roommate, when I was at Harvard Law School, is a plastic surgeon here, Dr. Charles Boyd, and he's always, man, you got to move here, you got to move here. So I said to myself, when I raise kids, when I have my children, I want to raise them here. I want them to turn out like folks here as opposed to Hollywood. And so my son's 8 years old, and I've been here 8 years. And it's been a blessing. The greatest people in the world are here. And I always tell people, Coleman Young wasn't from here. He's from Alabama, too. So I was born in Iowa, so there's a Midwestern roots that I have. But at the end of the day, it's not always where you're from, it's where you're at. And it's what you're willing to do for people. And my track record of service of people, obviously through my books and through my foundation and being an activist, is what I stand on. And I'm proud of that record. There's no other person in this field that has a degree from Harvard Law School. There's no other person in this field that has a degree from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. There's no other person in this field that has had a successful career like I've had. And I'm proud of that.
Quickly, before we let you go, what are some of the biggest issues that you think this state specifically is dealing
Without
with?
question, we need to pass universal health care. We need to get that done. It's the #1 cause of personal bankruptcies. GoFundMe, 1/3 of GoFundMes are medical related. GoFundMe is not a health plan. We need to pass women's reproductive freedom, women's reproductive rights. It has to get codified federally. We need to pass the PRO Act and undergird our unions, give the National Labor Relations Board real teeth, real meat. And we need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights and Advancement Act. We got to undergird the fact that we've let the Voting Rights Act of 1965 lapse is a problem. So we also have to get rid of Citizens United. It's the #1 thing that's killing our democracy, without question. Untethered, unlimited, dark money in our politics. My opponent is a recipient of a great deal of that type of money and that type of funding. We got to get that out of politics if people are going to get represented as opposed to special interest, corporate interest. The Michigan Constitution and the U.S. Constitution begin with the same 3 words, we the people. They don't start with we the super PAC or we the politician. And people need to be represented first, and that's what my candidacy does.
Before we do let you go, I just want to make sure to ask about an issue that is deeply important to many of our viewers, and that's the war in Gaza.
Yeah.
Do you support a permanent ceasefire, and what is your level of support for supporting the Israeli military?
Yeah, so I called for ceasefire in early November. Over 75% of Michigan Democrats support ceasefire, and my opponent is out of line with, I believe, what Michigan Democrats want. And without question, when people pay their tax dollars, I don't think that they're thinking that they're going to fund the killing of children overseas. And so we cannot rubber stamp spending for overseas wars. And I have a saying that I say all the time: there is no good war and there's no bad peace. And we as a country have to follow that, and we want to follow that. I was at a senior facility today talking with people, and they're very upset about how their tax dollars are being used. And too many of our politicians are rubber stamping policy because they're in the pocket of special interest. My opponent has received over $600,000 from AIPAC. And, that's a problem. I got offered $20 million to actually run against a candidate that AIPAC wants to take out, the only Palestinian member of Congress. And so we have to understand that with Citizens United in place, these type of offers happen because they think money can be determinative of outcome of election, and that's all anybody wants. And I can't be bought, I can't be bossed, I can't be bullied, and I refuse to be.
All right, well, that is our time for today. Hill Harper, candidate for U.S. Senate. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.